Now we're going to do for the supply side exactly the same that we did for the demand side. So we're going to call X, remember I of S of P, this is going to be the supply of firm I at price P that we learned how to derive during Unit 3. And we're going to denote by capital X, S of P, the total supply at price P of all firms in the market. And of course, this is going to be equal to the sum from J equals 1 to capital F of Xj S of P. As before, horizontal demand is going to be critical. And I'm going to go quickly through it since it's very similar to before. So if we have, let's say, one firm where the supply form is like this. So this is a supply, sorry, let me use the same notation. The supply function for firm 1 is like this. And the supply function for firm 2 is something like this. Let's say jumping here, etc. When you add them up, and I'm only going to plot the sum of these two, just to make it simple, what you do again is at any price P, you take where you are, let's say at this price or at that price, and you add horizontally the quantities, and it should be easy for you to see that you're basically going to get something that looks like this in this case. That is going to be the supply market for the aggregate supply function for the market. Let's solve a concrete example to get some practice on how to compute these aggregate supply functions. So suppose you have three firms. The firm has a very easy supply function, which is S1. I'm sorry, let me use the same notation. Is just P. The second firm supply function looks like this. 0 if P is less or equal than 5, P if P is greater or equal than 5. And the third firm looks like this. 0 if P is less or equal than 10, and P if P is greater or equal than 10. These are supply functions of the type that you saw repeatedly in Unit 3. The question is, what does the aggregate supply function looks like? And we're going to do it here. Now, it should be easy to see that there are two critical points, which are prices at which interesting things happen, which are 10 and 5. So let me put them here, 10 and 5. And what do we have? If price is less than 5, only firm 1 is at work. And the supply firm, therefore, when we are horizontally, we only had to add the supply function of that firm, which is basically P. So between a quantity of 0 and 5, we get P. Let me extend this line here because we're going to need the space, as you will see in a second. Now, what happens at price 5? At price 5, the second firm becomes active. It can either supply 0, in which case we are still here, or it can enter and supply at this point at a price of 5. So it can also be the case, I hope it's easy for you to see, that at a price of 5, we can be at that point or at a price of 10, and that afterwards, the supply raises until price 10 with a slope of 2p. So here, the supply is basically given by 2p in this region, whereas in this region is given by p. Why 2p? Because in that price range between 5 and 10, we have to add these two supply functions for the first two firms. And then what happens when we reach 10? When we reach 10, the firm number 3 may want to enter either by producing 0, in which case we're in this point, or by entering an amount of 10, in which case we have to jump from 0, from 20 to 30. And after that point, the thing keeps rising with a function of 3p. So notice that the supply function in this example becomes flatter and also has these jumps that have to do with when do the different firms decide to entry. And remember that these jumps were generated by these semi-fixed costs of production that we were studying.